Alright, hello and welcome to Camel Finance. I'm your boy Camel and I've got a few things to talk about today. There was a bit of Fed speak, I want to cover that, rate hikes and inflation talk because of course CPI is coming in tomorrow for the US, so we get to see that data. I want to talk a little bit about Bitcoin risk. Okay, I want to talk about upside risk protection for Bitcoin. So I'm going to show you some pretty interesting stuff that only people that were here in the last bear markets will be able to remember. I want to talk a little bit about some crypto news in general, some Bitcoin news, adoption stuff. I'm also going to be talking about gold today, and I'm going to be talking about gold a little bit more than just here's my position, here's where I'm going long, here's where I'm looking to get long silver, so on and so forth. I want to talk about gold because it's starting to pop up all over my news feed, okay? This is on social media, this is on YouTube, this is everywhere I look. People are starting to talk about gold. I'm even starting to see mainstream media publish headlines like gold to $3,000. Whilst I think gold is going to five figures, okay, 10,000 plus an ounce over this decade, I honestly do not believe we go straight from here to $3,000. I don't believe now is a great time to buy gold if you've sat on the sidelines. So I'm gonna do like a deep dive into the TA. I'm gonna show you where I think this thing is gonna triple top around 2050. Then I think it's gonna basically dive 50% down to $1,000-ish an ounce, and then I believe we make that run up to the 3,000 and beyond. But I think what we're seeing now is most of this rally has gone completely undetected in gold. And only now, where we're getting up towards my take profit targets, am I starting to notice the mainstream media is starting to tout things like $3,000 an ounce for gold. And only now, after we long the bottom in gold, remember, and silver, only now am I starting to see the YouTube influencers, remember the ones that don't trade live, okay, not the way I trade live on this channel. We're talking about YouTube influencers starting to tout $3,000 an ounce. Is now the time to buy gold? So I just want to caution against that. If you've got an ultra long-term outlook, buying gold and silver for the rest of the decade, if you're going to hold it until the end of this reset, then that's absolutely a great strategy, so long as it's physical gold and silver. But if you're thinking about adding a long to gold, targeting 3,000 from where we are now, then I think you'll want to see the rest of this video. And the same applies if you're thinking about sitting here waiting for one more dip in Bitcoin to go long, okay? If that is also your strategy for Bitcoin, I'm going to sit here and wait for one more dip and then I'll go all in. I also am going to caution against that, and you might want to see what I got to show you. So let's get into this. The Fed speak. Daly has said that she expects the central bank to raise rates somewhere over 5%, versus Bostic, which noted policymakers should hike above 5% early in the second quarter and then go on hold for a long time. For a long time. Are we about to see a pretty decent pause from the Fed in rate hikes? The market is currently pricing just under 80% probability for a 25 basis point hike at the February meeting. This has been the expectation on this channel since all the way back here in the summer of last year. So are we about to see this 25 basis point hike and what I suspect will be a pause? And I say I suspect not because that is my speculation, but because that is what the bond market has been hinting at. The bond market has been calling a Fed bluff and saying there's no chance that the Fed continues to pause rates. So that's not me saying this. This is the bond market. I think it's safe to say a 25 basis point hike is pretty much priced in. But the big question for me is, if they announce pause language, is that going to validate a melt up? And I believe it absolutely is. Ultimately, it seems the purpose of the Risk Bank Symposium for Powell that took place yesterday was simply to make it clear that the Fed is not going to back the, I don't know if I can say these words, agenda being brought forth by the Davos crowd with $200 trillion in central bank spending. With CPI in focus tomorrow, we know that the global inflation surprise index is falling rapidly, as you can see here. Hopping over to the Fed, okay, you can see that this is the total M2 supply percent change from 1 year ago, seasonally adjusted. It has absolutely fallen off a cliff. Here's another view of this same thing, okay, the US M2 money supply year over year change. You can see the rate of change for the M2 expansion, that is to say the rate of change for the printing of money, has fallen off a cliff. Couple that with what I just showed you, the global inflation surprise index falling off a cliff as well. And I think it's pretty reasonable to expect, or at least it's my expectation, that CPI is going to be on a 5 handle for tomorrow's print. It's important to remember that longer term inflation doesn't disappear. Whilst the CPI metric can spike up and then crash down, that does not mean the real world effects will not continue to be felt by all of the general public. The minimum wage in the 80s was $3.10, okay? A Big Mac was 50 cents. That means you were earning 6.2 Big Macs per hour. Fast forward to 2022, you're not even earning a full Big Mac per hour. This is the real world effect felt by the masses. This is why it's so important to exit the system to Bitcoin, gold, and silver, so long as all three of those are physical. Remember, Bitcoin is an IQ test in risk management. And speaking of Bitcoin and risk management, I want to show you something which I hope you will like. I hope you can appreciate this a lot. This is the 2018 into 2019 bear market for Bitcoin. You can see we reached this low of around $3,000, and I can remember being here for this. And a bunch of people were expecting a drop down to 1.5 or even 1K. Everyone was saying, oh, once we get down to 1.5K, I'm all in. And what actually ended up happening, as you can see, is we formed a bunch of these sort of equal highs or nearly equal highs, and then we broke out. Now, when this candle happened, my phone was going off the hook. People were texting me, and the consensus in the market was that the likely thing to happen from here was that we would come back. We'd have some sort of pullback and then go. The problem was, what actually ended up happening was we just ground higher for a while, okay, before resolving one of these wedges to the upside. Now, we've just seen this from gold not too long ago. We put in this sort of rising wedge for gold that resolved to the upside, okay? So going back to Bitcoin, remember down here, the consensus was I'm going all in at 1 to 1.5K. Then when this candle happened, the consensus was we're probably going to have to pull back. This is overextended. Then once we started to grind up here and broke out, the consensus was I will wait for a retest of 5K, which, by the way, even on this wick, which lasted no time at all, never came. I can remember people texting me in this neighborhood saying, I'm just going to wait for a pullback to 5K and then I'll buy 5K. And I remember continuously begging those friends of mine to buy Bitcoin because it was not going to come back to 5K. And sure enough, it didn't. It did not come back to 5K. And I know I've mentioned that same story on this channel a bunch of times over the last year. The point is, before too much longer, we were up from a low of around 3,000 to a high of nearly 14,000. Okay, in no time at all. And I'm talking, look, here to here. That's 58 days. That's 160-day cycle. We went from around 3K to 9K. This is an absolute lockout move. And all those people that were dogmatic down here, all those people that didn't know how to draw lines and trade breakouts, was stuck waiting for 1 to 1.5K that never came. So where am I going with this? Well, if I copy and paste this fractal right here, and we add it to the end of this chart. First of all, I'm not suggesting this will happen, but I am saying this absolutely would be within the realm of possibility given the speed of the drawdown here. There's nothing to say we could not repeat this and get very, very bullish very, very quickly. Again, I'm not saying this will happen, but we are very near my breakout target of a close above 17.6 for Bitcoin. This is what my long position will start to look like. Now, if we were to repeat this sort of parabolic recovery like I just showed you from the 2018 bear market, everyone that's in here waiting for 10, 12, even 14K is going to be locked out. We're going to be at 24 in no time, and within one completion of a 60-day cycle for Bitcoin, we could be as high as 40K. All of these people that are waiting for 10, 12, or 14K might be only 60 days away from looking at a 40K Bitcoin price. Again, this is not a prediction. This is simply me saying I've experienced a move like this before. Now, I have been prepared, especially if you've been watching this channel, then you'll know I've been prepared for all outcomes. If we got a drop into a cycle low, I was going long from down here. We break above this blue line, and I will do exactly what I did in the 2018 bear market and long the breakout above this horizontal. I'm covered in all outcomes. My only point here is that there is risk to the upside as well as to the downside. Please make sure you're prepared for all of this. I have even been talking about this. Here's a video from over a month ago, November 23rd. I put this out. I'm just going to play like a 15-second clip from this. But I just want to caution against being really bearish, because people that are playing for a few K down here are really underestimating Bitcoin's ability to do something like this, okay? This would not surprise me at all. We've basically seen this in gold fairly recently, okay? We sort of broke this big level, we chopped around for a while, and then we just exploded to the upside. So there you have it, okay? I've been warning about this. I'm not saying this is going to happen. I'm not saying this is a prediction. I wasn't at the time. I was simply saying do not underestimate Bitcoin's ability to quickly recover a £10,000. Do not underestimate Bitcoin's ability to do this, and even to do this twice over, okay? Yeah, so as crazy as it sounds, again, not a prediction, do not underestimate Bitcoin's ability to gain $10,000 plus in a few daily candles. Remember, there is upside risk as well as downside risk, particularly if you are completely unallocated at this moment in time. In other news, CPI is coming out tomorrow. We have initial jobless claims also coming out tomorrow. This is going to be very market moving. The CPI is going to be very market moving. Can we get all the way down to a 5 handle like I suspect we might? Bob Lucas, the king of cycles and the author of the 4-year Bitcoin cycle, announced yesterday that he has purchased his final Bitcoin allocation. Bob Lucas is at full exposure. I have new positions to show you as well. I'm going to get to the charts in just a moment. In other news, the House Republicans are going to vote on a bill to abolish the IRS and eliminate income tax. So when I see this, I don't really know what to make of it. If you've got any opinion, throw it down in the comments. I was thinking one of a few things, okay? One, either this is just complete BS and they're trying to win votes, okay? There's no better way to win votes than to promise everyone they're not going to have to pay any tax. Or two, is it something more sinister? Is it possible that they know they don't need income tax anymore because they no longer care about the deficit because they're going to default on their debt? Are we about to go full Great Reset? Is this why they recently built a wall around the outside of the Federal Reserve? Of course, all of this is speculation. Most probably, my thoughts most probably intuitively tell me that not much is going to come of this, okay? It's probably going to end up being a damp squid. But perhaps there is something more sinister to this after all. I'd love to get your opinion if you have any on that. Here in Britain, they're going to push ahead with plans for a central bank digital currency, a CBDC, the digital pound, according to Reuters. The world remains worried about DCG, okay? But GBTC does the absolute opposite of what the market consensus is and surges upwards anyway. So if you're still bearish on Bitcoin, keep in mind, the market already knows that DCG and Genesis are insolvent, and it's known that for a while. It's quite likely that all of this is priced in already. JP Morgan, back to his old tricks, okay? They're calling Bitcoin a decentralized Ponzi scheme. So remember how they play the game, okay? They name call, they make stupid claims like this, and then it turns out many months down the line, we get the news that they were the largest buyers at the time. They were putting out this FUD into the mainstream media. So it's likely to say, given JP Morgan is out dunking on Bitcoin at the moment, it's most probable that they are hoovering up the Bitcoin at these levels and are likely going to be responsible for some kind of breakout, which I believe is imminent. We've had a crypto trading app called Tap Global become amongst the first of London's public listings in 2023. What's really interesting about this is they are a crypto bank, a neo bank, okay? This is traditional banking with a card, but they also offer FX exchange and crypto exchange. They are regulated, they are public, so it's really nice to see that neobanks continue to thrive, neobanks continue to be able to be regulated, neobanks continue to be able to list publicly. This crypto thing is not going anywhere. Jack Dorsey is working on integrating Bitcoin's Lightning into Square POS terminals. Again, there's a big push to integrate Lightning all over the place. We've got Michael Saylor from MicroStrategy working on it. This thing is going truly global. Momentum is building. And Bitcoin's adoption, remember, rests on growing, 1, its share of the world's wealth, and 2, the number of people who trust and accept Bitcoin. Even though the price fell last year, the number of Bitcoiners is up and to the right. And you can see that here. The price in black, we've had obviously a massive drawdown through this bear market, but the number of addresses continues up and to the right in yellow, as you can see here, towards all-time highs. And amongst record amounts of Bitcoin adoption, record amounts of wallets being produced, conviction amongst long-term Bitcoin holders doesn't get any better than this. Bitcoin reserve risk is at its lowest level ever. And we even have short-term holder cost bases looking to break out above this and end the bear market. Here it is zoomed out. As you can see, it's about time we enter an uptrend. So hopping into the charts, we've got the dollar continues a downtrend, continues its move down towards this blue sloping trend line where perhaps it could consolidate for a bit before breaking down even further. Yields continue to come off, as you can see here. This is the 10-year and moving into the 2-year. These continue to be under pressure. These continue to call a Fed pause pertaining to the rate hikes. Bitcoin continues to look hungry to break out above here. I am keeping a very close eye on this. I am getting ready to go long at a break above 17.6k for Bitcoin. I think as soon as that happens, it's going to be time for me to add an Ethereum long as well, and the long will look something like this, I believe, for Ethereum. So currently not long either of those, but looking to get long. I think I'm also going to add an XRP position. Now, I would like to see a breakout above 40 cents, but if Bitcoin and Ethereum can get going, and this continues to round, then I will add a position that will look something like this for XRP. So expect me to tell you that's coming in the not too distant future. MATIC continues to do a whole lot of nothing, so that's fine, and Zcash continues to try to be a leader, so I'm just going to let it continue to do that. Over in the precious metals world, I spoke earlier about gold, okay? Here's what I see for gold. I see this triple top playing out. Now, if it can get up here, I think it's going to be a strong sell-off, because remember, I took a public long on a breakout of this trade, okay? When we got up here, I then flipped short down here, and then I got long again on a breakout of this white trend line, as you can see, which is the current open position. For me, this is a massive Wyckoff accumulation. Now, if it can come up here and chop around for a bit and then break out, then we can talk about a move to 3K. But the notion that this is just going to go straight up here like a hot knife through butter just seems to me like, why would it do that? Why would it do that? The majority of this dollar move is likely done being broken down. Now, that's not to say we can't go a lot lower in the dollar, but this needs to consolidate or have some sort of counter trend bounce first. And I believe that is going to be one of the catalysts for slowing down this precious metals move. So I'm not saying I'm not bullish gold. I'm ultra bullish gold. I think gold is going to 5 figures an ounce this decade. But to me, it just makes, as somebody that's been trading this market for a very, very, very long time, it just makes total sense that we'll chop up here, get a triple top, then have a big flush out, a big final shakeout. And then wherever that forms, then it's time to go. That's what gold always does. It always has these massive, massive flushes before it goes on the run. Invalidation for this trade would be if we were to come up here, chop around, and then break out, then of course you can get long here as well. But I think a lot of people are going to start to get long over the coming days. Like I was saying at the beginning of this video, this is starting to get more and more attention. And the more and more attention it gets, the more worried you should be. Nobody cared about gold in this neighborhood down here. Nobody at all. But now we're up here, suddenly all the YouTube influencers are coming out and saying 3K gold. So wouldn't it make perfect sense that we do something like this and then nosedive to destroy all of those people? Then I believe it's finally time to go. But that is how I view the precious metals market at the moment. Silver's a bit of a strange one. So kind of just consolidating here. Doesn't really speak to a move in either direction. I used this trendline break to get out of this trade after getting in down here, I think. So that's absolutely fine. A break above this box and I would go long again. But for now, it seems like we can't quite recover this purple trend line. It seems like we're kind of chopping around here. Does it want to roll over and have a shakeout before it goes? Or is it going to just chop around here and break out, in which case the long will come from there? Either way, I can start to spot, if I connect these wicks up here, a trend line forming. So I'll see if we can continue to sort of chop around underneath that and break out. If so, the long can come from there. If not, like I said, above the box is fine. As ever, one day at a time. Remember, I'm still publicly long the gold miners, so nothing to do apart from push that trade. And the same is, of course, true of the junior miners right here. I completely forgot about Apple. So I've had this position open, well, it's been closed now for a while. As you can see, this has been stopped out. I got long on a trend line break here. We chopped around and did a whole lot of nothing for a while. And now we've been stopped out probably a few weeks ago now. So as ever on this channel, I like to uphold the highest possible standard of YouTube traders. Everything I do is for free. Everything I do is 100% transparent. I have paid a stop on this Apple. So I no longer need this or this. I'm no longer holding an Apple long. Potentially looking for re-entry at something like this. That, of course, remains to be seen for now. Marathon, I have added a marathon position. I'm currently long marathon, as you can see here. Riot, I am also publicly long Riot, which continues to move higher. So hopefully I flagged this well in advance. We've been talking about this on the channel since all the way back here. Hopefully this can continue, and I suspect it will if Bitcoin can continue to push up. Also, I've averaged down my MicroStrategy position. So this is the new entry. This is the new hard stop. I'm now full exposure for the longer term to MicroStrategy. My total entry, my first one was pretty bad. I think I was around 260 something. You could go back and check on the channel. I've since averaged down. I'm currently holding a quite significant position at 202, looking for Bitcoin to break higher. So that is the MicroStrategy position. And I've also, after having a kind of bad entry for Coinbase initially at around 57, I have now averaged this down and I'm holding another significant position at around 44 for Coinbase, close to break even at this point. Hopping into the UK 100, not really much to say about this, okay? Long and strong, continue to push, targeting 8,500. We are well into this empty space above now, so I think this is just time to melt up. I think this is a leader, and I think the US equities are soon going to catch this up. The VIX is looking like I'm about to close my position out, so I'm going to let it run. There's no reason to close this early. I definitely want to hold this insurance into tomorrow in case the CPI print's really hot or something. But for now, I would rather pay the stop on this because that means it could well be time to melt up. As you can see from the Dow, if I zoom in here, this continues to look constructive, continues to upset the bears. This continues to seemingly want to push higher after this big consolidation at the retest of the breakout of this red resistance line. So not much to say apart from long and strong continue to push. NASDAQ, again, not really paying too much attention. I'm keeping an eye on this, but get a breakout above this red downward sloping resistance line right here, and you will see me go long and strong, targeting probably something in the neighborhood of 20 to 22k for the NASDAQ. So it might seem insane right now. I'm not saying we can't have one more dip down first, but I think things are starting to line up to say goodbye to this bear market. I think things are going to get very bullish very quickly. Hopping into the S&P 500, 2 or 3 scenarios that could unfold here. Firstly, like I said, if we break out, then that's my long on the breakout of this downward sloping resistance line. If we get rejected here, then the target will be down here for a cycle low, and then we can go happy days. Or of course, we could just get sharply reversed by CPI tomorrow and expect something like this, and then we can go. So I'm open to all outcomes. I'm not trying to chase this market. I'm not feeling any FOMO right now. If we are going to break out, if this melt up really is going to confirm, then we have got so much empty space above that we can make plenty of money. There's no reason to go forcing anything. There's no reason to rush in here. So just going to take my time, just going to figure out whether the green cycle count here is correct or whether I need to reject these last 3 and accept the blue count here. So a few more days and we'll have our answer. Probably by tomorrow we'll know, because if this breaks out and a daily close above this blue line following a cold CPI print, then it's likely that we can reject the blue arrows, we can accept the green count and look for a full daily cycle ahead, targeting new highs this year for the S&P. Failing that, if we get rejected and slapped down into this cycle low, then we know we can reject these green arrows, we can accept the blue count and look for that being a generational buying opportunity at the end of a bear market for the S&P 500. Coupled with Bitcoin about to break out, I think this year is going to turn out to be a fantastic year. That's my read. As ever, open to changing if the market tells me to do so. For now, feeling pretty good about this year. We've got a lot of risk on. We got some open profit. We got some book profit for the year already. So happy days there. If you found value here today, I'd appreciate it if you could drop a like on the video, subscribe if you're not already, turn those notifications on if you want to continue to get updated as and when I modify, close or open any new positions. This will always be free. I'm not interested. I know some people have asked me about Telegram groups and some people have asked me about Discord. Look, no thank you. I'll do this for free. I'll continue to do this for free because this is what I love to do. So slap a like on it if you like it. Make sure you turn the notifications on if you want to continue to get updated for free. In the meantime, I hope you're doing well in life. I wish you all the best. Take care from me. Cheers. Bye.